Welcome to Better Together with your hosts, Emily Italia and Jennifer Morrow. When we all work together, we are stronger and can accomplish more for the kingdom of God. And now, here are the hosts of Better Together, Emily Italia and Jennifer Morrow.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Better Together. I'm Emily Italia.
I'm Jen Morrow.
And we're excited to be back, getting into the swing of a new year.
Mm-hmm.
How's your new year going so far, Jen?
Not too shabby, I have to say. I've made a couple of New Year's resolutions. I'm not doing too bad so far. I'm keeping them private.
I can't say the same.
I'm keeping them private because I was just talking to somebody last night about this. I was like, I don't want to say it out loud because if I fail, then I'll have witnesses. But I don't know if that's the right attitude toward that, but I'm sticking with it right now. But that's how it's going.
Mine have modified a little bit over the last couple of weeks. I'm like, okay, maybe I set that bar a little too high. So, it is what it is. But, it's good to have another year, another chance, and a lot of great things going on in New Jersey and around the world. So what's happening in Diocese of Camden?
Well, before we jump into that, I just have to say something. Just remember this. So we have a sister who writes a column for the Catholic Star Herald, Sister Emily Vincent, and her upcoming column, she writes monthly, she's great, it's about New Year's resolutions, but it goes deeper than that, right? But she says that two things that are really key to New Year's resolution, or just any resolution or change in general, right? Is she says, first, we must forgive ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So forgive ourselves when we kind of stumble on our path, and then also to submit to God what it is that we're trying to do. Because by submitting to God what we're trying to do, also it obviously actively brings him into the process with us.
Okay.
But also kind of reminds us that, is this what God wants us to do?
Right.
Like bring it to God to make sure that's also what he wants you to do. So it's not just you thinking you need to do these things, but work with him on that.
Right.
To say,
Checking
are
in
these the things that you want me to do? Or maybe there's more, or maybe I wasn't thinking about, and I thought that was really, I'm going to have to read it again because I was just editing it really quick yesterday, but I'm going to dive into that and do some reflecting on that.
That's a great reminder.
Because I thought that was good stuff.
Well, and sometimes we're called down a particular path and then maybe that path branches,
right?
And it's like, okay, well, you started out the right way, but now I kind of want you to veer this way. And you don't know unless you're checking in.
Right.
From time to time. So,
like, for instance, for those who are watching and can see on the video, is this what my hair is going to look like in the new year? I don't know. I crimped my hair. I've been doing it for like 4 days now.
I was going to say, I like it.
It's kind of wild because in the wind, it just flies everywhere. And then it just looks like I am a crazy person who put my finger in like an electric thing. No, it does. So if you're watching online, drop a note in the show notes on social. Is this staying? That's what I want to know. Yeah, we'll take a poll later because I don't know if this is working. So,
I'm amazed that you're able to get it to grow because I get so irritated. By the time it hits my shoulders, I'm like, I've had enough. I got to do something with this.
It keeps me warm in the winter.
Aren't you grateful we don't have to shave our heads? My poor husband, every morning, it's like 15 minutes of, and just.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I couldn't do that.
And then you got a cold head for winter. So
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. No, the longer it keeps me warm, covers the ears. Yeah. So
this show's going a whole other direction today.
Yeah, it's a little jocularity. This
is good.
So what's going on in Trenton?
So we are gearing up as all the dioceses are, for Catholic Schools Week. So that's going to be a big one, and it would be nice. We might do a little recap afterwards. Maybe we can connect with some folks in different schools. I know there's a lot of excitement at our individual parish over it, and the opportunities to kind of showcase all the great things about Catholic education. And then a few other things going on. One actually is not of the Diocese of Trenton, but within its borders. The St. Mary Byzantine Catholic Church, it's one of the 24 additional Catholic rites. We had Alicia Brozovic on our show a few months back talking about.
A great show.
They had a workshop, a come and see workshop, to kind of learn what it's all about, the Byzantine rite and the other rites of the church, and just how the divine liturgy is a little bit different from our experience of the Mass in the Roman rite. Well, they're going to bring that back, but in a 3-part series in February, kind of coinciding with Lent. I believe in their tradition, it's called either the Great Lent or the Great Fast. Obviously, I'm not an expert. But that's going to be a 3-part series on 3 Fridays in February. It's going to be February 13th, 20th, and 27th. And it'll be a little bit of a continuation of what was introduced in the fall as a focus on learning, prayer, and reflection. And the 3 topics I think that they've posted were it's going to be on history and heritage, on theology and liturgy, and the liturgical seasons, which are a little bit of overlap with Roman Rite, but slightly different.
Yeah.
And then they have some additional feasts in there that they celebrate. Their calendar is jam-packed. So I just from a personal standpoint, I find that really interesting to just go see, what are the differences, and then, meet some other people who are from that rite. And so if you want more information on this, if you're interested, they're doing virtual and in person, which is nice because they're Friday evenings.
Yeah.
So if you're, cutting it close with your commute and you still want to attend, I think virtual will be an option. And all the information is going to be available on their website, stmarybyz CatholicTrenton.org. It's a bit of a mouthful. stmarybyz CatholicTrenton.org if you're interested.
And I love that also because when we did the show at the end of 2025, they had an event that we were promoting as well. But I know I couldn't go because I had a family thing coming up. But this I can go to.
Oh.
And it's really pretty kind of neat that, you could listen to that podcast again or that show again. We can even put the link in the show notes so that you could kind of brush up on what the differences are and the similarities.
That's a great idea.
And then go in February.
Yeah, I think
like
it's looking forward to that. And then
I've mentioned show notes twice. Jim, I'm sorry that I am promising all these things in the show notes. Jim's like, as long as you give me the links, we're good.
Yeah.
And what else is up?
Well, the other thing was not specific to our diocese, but to the world. I just saw this online today on EWTN News Nightly. Apparently, just after the Jubilee Year of Hope concluded in Rome, Pope Leo XIV has declared a Franciscan Jubilee year to commemorate the 800th anniversary of the death of St. Francis of Assisi.
Wow.
And having been at Franciscan University of Steubenville for college, I'm like, yay, I can't wait. This is awesome. We have a Franciscan Jubilee year.
Yeah.
So,
we're definitely going to have to dive into that.
yeah. More
as somebody
detail.
who goes to a Franciscan church, and also I'm an associate of the Allegheny I can't wait to see what this is going to be about. So,
So just a heads up for those of you Franciscans out there
That's right.
who's interested in learning more about St. Francis and his charisms and everything. I'm sure more is going to be coming up very soon from our Holy Father and from the Vatican. So check that out.
tuned.
Yeah.
Okay, I do have to jump in and say I would be remiss to say that we do have a pretty cool thing coming up in Camden.
Oh, please.
All right, so you mentioned Lent. So our communications department has been working on a really cool project. It's called Journal Through Lent.
Oh.
And basically, every week during Lent, there will be a series of videos released. And from there are just snippets of spiritual information and a journey with some of our religious sisters and our priests. And then there is a journal that goes with that you can download for free off of our website. And so you can journal through Lent.
Wow.
With reflecting on these spiritual morsels from some of the clergy and sisters across the diocese.
Great.
So that'll be really exciting. I'll have more information on that next time. But that's my little teaser. Throw that out there.
I love
it's going
that,
to be
'cause
awesome.
They say that you actually retain information better when you're writing it down, like the physical act of writing, not just like typing it or, there's something about that physical using a pen or pencil. So
Yeah, I agree with that.
that would really help solidify whatever it is you're processing spiritually.
Yeah, so this should be good stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome.
So also about good stuff, we have an awesome guest in the studio with us today. Could be a three-peat.
A
Could be a
three-peat?
three-peat.
Might be.
Yeah.
Just might be. Yeah,
Could
I'll
be
have
a
to go back to
three-peat.
my notes.
I
Check it
know.
out.
Fan favorite. That's what I'm saying.
Fan
Fan
favorite,
favorite
for sure.
Rachel Hendricks is with us today. Hi, Rachel.
Hey, ladies. It's just such a delight to be back here in studio with you, and I'm just excited to be with you and to share what's going on around the Diocese of Trenton and have a great conversation.
Well,
with my
welcome.
friends.
And just a reminder for our viewers that Rachel is the coordinator of Respect Life Ministries for the Diocese of Trenton. And we have some exciting things to talk about this month with regard to Respect Life.
Yeah. So, the conversation today is going to be about this great event coming up, which kind of coincides with the March for Life in Washington, D.C. This will be more of a giant local event that's open to anybody in the state. And so we'll be talking about the expo and then the Respect Life Expo, and then also kind of diving deeper into the Respect Life movement in general. So I just want to throw that out there. That was my teaser. So.
Sounds good.
It works.
My interest is piqued.
So let's jump in by saying what is coming up and when is it?
So on Friday, January 23rd, the Diocese of Trenton is sponsoring another Standing Together for Life event. These events started in the wake of the overturn of Roe v. Wade in 22. So the following January, in January 2023, we sponsored an event, Standing Together for Life, that really was looking at the shift in our understanding of what it means to be pro-life and what Respect Life really means, and how it really is more encompassing than maybe some of us normally think about in the pro-life movement. Mm-hmm. So we were calling all different people to stand together for the protection of vulnerable neighbors in need and for our others and for ourselves, and also to better our understanding of what it even means to be human. So the first couple of years we had speaker events. Then last year we started having a different event where we've always had started off with a Mass for Life with Bishop O'Connell. And these events have always been at our Co-Cathedral in Freehold and will be again this year. So we start off really strong in prayer and solidarity with those pilgrims who are traveling to D.C. for the National March for Life. And like I said, also calling together a broader scope of folks that are concerned about vulnerable people and how we respond to them. Mm-hmm. After Mass last year and then again this year, we had a beautiful Life Expo, so an exhibit hall in Dentici Hall, which is just next to the sanctuary at St. Robert's Co-Cathedral, where we had a wide variety, and we will again have even more of a wide variety of exhibitors come, groups and organizations that share in their mission that they are life-affirming in one way or another. So we can talk more about the different exhibitors, mm-hmm. but really the purpose is to call together this broad group of people, start with prayer, and then move into action. Mm-hmm. Engage with these exhibitors, engage with these groups and organizations to learn more about what the resources are for vulnerable people in our neighborhoods, but also to find out what we can do. How can we take a bigger role in serving our neighbors in need and supporting these wonderful organizations?
And that's one of the arguments I feel like a lot of people outside of the pro-life movement have. They think that, the support for pro-life only extends as long as the baby is at risk in the mother's womb. And then when the baby is born, the concern stops. And that is clearly not the case.
That's right. And I would say, with one caveat, if you've met one pro-life person, you've met one pro-life person, right?
This is true.
And although many of us in the Catholic Church and many people of goodwill certainly are pro-life in an expanded way that see beyond the protection of the unborn child in the womb and go way beyond that in support of moms and families mm-hmm. who are in crisis or need help or support. So this is a way for us to better understand what it means to be pro-life. The vulnerable child in the womb obviously has kind of like a maximal vulnerability there. We can't even, except through ultrasound, see this child. And for some women who either aren't aware of their pregnancy or maybe haven't revealed it to others, people might not even know that the child is there. Yeah. So there's definitely a maximum vulnerability there, but also for the woman who needs support, mm-hmm. especially when there's a challenging situation, whether it's an unexpected pregnancy or many other challenges that can exist in a woman's life when she's pregnant. So we need to support our neighbors in need, period, full stop. Right. When they're pregnant, when there's a vulnerable baby, but also when that child is born, challenges don't stop there. And there are different cycles of challenge and difficult situations then that can damage families, damage personal relationships. And so we really need to be there as a community to support all people in need, mm-hmm. To support the single moms, but also to support the dads, to support fatherhood mm-hmm. in a way that engages the dads of these vulnerable children so that they can see their obligation to stay in close relationship with their babies and with the women in their lives.
And I'm just going to be generic and in listing some of the people at the expo, and then you can go deeper into it. But what jumped out at me is when we talk about those who will be at the expo, we have women in crisis pregnancies represented, pregnancy resource centers, infertility support services, and then there's some that kind of jumped out at me. We also have prison ministry, Catholic cemeteries will be represented, support for adoption, foster care, and those with disabilities. This is branching out, like you said, to care for our common home in the fact that we're talking about multiple groups of people and multiple communities of people. And I think that that's important to note because there's a lot of different stuff in here. And of course, you'll have the mobile ultrasound unit, which is pretty neat. Where's that from?
Super cool. So that's from Options for Her, which is really a full service pregnancy help center that is, they have physical locations in Cherry Hill, in Trenton, and in Ocean City. Debbie Biskey is their CEO. She's remarkable. As a matter of fact, she was a call-in guest
She
at the
was.
inaugural Better Together show.
I remember.
She's a remarkable woman who has taken the successes of Options for Her a few years ago when she took over as CEO and really catapulted this ministry into something so much deeper than its original mission of helping vulnerable pregnant moms. They now have programs for fathers. They have 2 mobile ultrasound medical units that have qualified, certified ultrasound technicians who work on them. They take these units and park them legally in close proximity to abortion clinics, who, by the way, don't offer free ultrasounds and sometimes don't offer ultrasounds at all. So here's an opportunity for vulnerable pregnant women right next to the abortion clinic to get a free ultrasound to at least date their pregnancy, offering a medical service, but of course supporting the woman in their decision and letting them know that you have a chance, you have a choice for life to keep this baby. Regardless of your situation, we will walk with you the whole way, even after your baby's born, and engage the baby's father if he's around and willing. So Debbie Biskey and Options for Her will be bringing one of the large state-of-the-art mobile ultrasound units, and they'll be giving tours of the units and basically explaining exactly what they do, what their certifications are, what valid, awesome medical information they can provide, and also all of those wraparound support services that they can engage these ladies with. And it's proven through many studies that women who are unsure what they're going to do when they're in a difficult situation during a pregnancy, if they can see their baby in ultrasound, they're 85% of those women will choose life for their baby. And it's not only seeing the baby, but also understanding there's a network of people around me who will be here for me.
Right. That's so powerful, because that's must be one of the scariest things, feeling like I'm in this alone and I'm faced with this weighty decision, and I'm trying to make the decision that works best, but maybe I wasn't aware up until I had this opportunity to see on the ultrasound, wasn't aware that not only is this a precious life, but also there are people who care about me and that life that's growing inside me. And to see it through, there are a lot of organizations, I imagine some of the pregnancy resource centers are also represented, who, will provide housing and education and childcare, things that don't get promoted in, the secular media.
That's kind of when I was going to double down on the question that Emily asked a little while ago is, how do you respond to the comments that, the Respect Life movement only focuses on pregnancy and birth and not enough what happens afterward? What are some examples of concrete help that is available after the birth?
Right. So as Emily mentioned, the crisis pregnancy centers that we have throughout the state, they now outnumber abortion clinics nationwide, actually.
That's
and
amazing.
As we see in other states, sadly not in New Jersey, we're seeing abortion clinics closing and more pregnancy help centers opening up. And we do see more of those centers opening here. Sadly, though, in New Jersey, we're not seeing the Planned Parenthoods, the abortion clinics closing because of our very abortion permissive laws here. But so certainly the point of entry for a vulnerable pregnant mom are these pregnancy centers. Birthright, we have several of them around the state. A new center, St. Michael Pregnancy Help Center down in Ocean County, was started up by a group of Catholics when one of the local pregnancy centers had to close because of lack of funding and resources. They started a new one to take its place. That's remarkable. That's really walking the way. That's through prayer, following where God's pointing you and putting your trust in him. A remarkable organization. We have Good Counsel Homes, who offers free support and a home. It's not a program. It's a home for pregnant moms and their babies to come and stay. They keep them there as long as they can. Maybe on the books it says till up to 1 year or so after the baby's birth that they can stay. But I know if they have space, they're going to continue to walk with these ladies.
And the idea being that they're providing some life-changing services, including education, transportation, childcare while that mother needs, to go to a job or to go to medical care. It's like a whole web of services. It's not just, here's a bed.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's a whole web of services because what they want, it's like if someone's hungry, you could give them a fish, right? But isn't it better to, give them the fish, but teach them how to fish.
Right.
Make them self-sufficient, not only because they should be self-sufficient, but that gives them more of a direction, more equipped to answer their calling as a parent, as a member of the community. And don't we all need that sense of meaning in our lives so that we don't have that feeling of loneliness?
Right.
But we need to have a sense that we're contributing to our families, to our communities. So they help provide so much for those women. So branching off into one of those different areas we don't normally think about in terms of how we continue to support moms, babies, and families after the birth is in the area of foster care. We don't talk very much about foster care or adoption, but we need to talk more about it. After all, I'm looking at the beautiful image here in studio of the Holy Family, where we have St. Joseph, the foster father of Jesus, and where we all see ourselves through our baptism as adopted back into the family of God, right? So we have to recognize that if we want all of these women in challenging circumstances to choose life for their babies, we know some of them are in situations that are going to be difficult, maybe even dangerous for the baby once born into that household. Perhaps it's poverty. Perhaps it's instability. There could be drug addiction. There can be mental illness. There can be homelessness. And so oftentimes we need to be prepared for when those children, those precious children whom we want to see born, may be placed in the foster care system and may eventually be placed for adoption. We know the most ideal situation is for all of our children to be cared for and loved by the parents who conceived those children, right? But that's not always possible. And so our next best thing that we need to support is foster care and adoption. So a couple of the organizations that are going to be at the Life Expo on January 23rd over at the Co-Cathedral in Freehold, one of them is called Downeyside Adoption Agency. And it's run by a beautiful Catholic woman, Dawn Rosinko. I really strongly recommend you look up Downeyside Adoption Agency. They're located in La Valette. They perform a very focused mission where their mission is to care for and look after the most unadoptable children.
Oh, wow.
Those are the children that have that are available for adoption and have been struggling through the foster care homes and are between the ages of 7 and 17. So as we know, many people who think of adopting children think of adopting babies. And as you can imagine, as a child ages, gets older and older, there can be complicating factors to introducing and inviting this child into your home, whether you have other siblings and other children in the home or not. So the children between the ages of 7 and 17 it's very difficult to find full, loving new stable homes for these children. There are also situations where there's a medical complication. There could be special needs that the child has, but also sibling groups. Mm-hmm. There are times when there's siblings, 2 siblings, 3, 4, 5 siblings. And the best scenario can be to place these siblings together in a loving home. But wow, is that challenging. Sure. Yeah. So that's the primary mission of Downey Side Adoption Agency, is to place these most vulnerable older children into loving, stable homes. Another organization, and technically, we'll go back to Downey Side, technically that is not a faith-based adoption agency. Dawn Rosinko, right, who runs the Lavalette office here in New Jersey, is a faithful Catholic woman and just such a beautiful soul. Moving now to the other organization that supports vulnerable kids in the foster care system. So we're talking about the kids who have been neglected or abused and now are in foster care. There's an organization called CASA, and CASA, it's kind of related to the Spanish word for home, right? But it's capital A, capital C, capital A, capital S, capital A, and it stands for Court-Appointed Special Advocates.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
So this is an organization that has chapters all over the country, and what they do is they recruit and train volunteers to be special advocates for neglected and abused kids who have been in the foster care system. So it's just such a beautiful way to volunteer, because we're talking about the most vulnerable kids. Now, when children are placed in the foster care system, yeah, there are supports for them. There's social services, right? They're often they're seeing therapists because their lives are in such transition. And there's legal help for these children too through the state. But there's no one there unless there's a CASA, we call them a CASA volunteer, unless there's a CASA, court-appointed special advocate, who's there strictly as a volunteer, where their sole purpose is to look out for that child's best interest. Mm. They can have access to the schools where that child goes, to the homes, the foster homes, to doctor appointments, and their only focus, they don't have to report to anybody. Yeah, they make some reports to CASA, but again, it's not their job. They're not getting paid for it. They're doing it because they want to help these children find a better way. And they can be an essential resource not only for the child, but for the court system that are making decisions on behalf of the vulnerable child. So such an interesting array of exhibitors that we'll have. And so those are 2 examples of where the pro-life, meaning pro-life, that meaning extends way beyond the birth of the child.
And also opportunities to volunteer. So those who come to the expo, looking for even maybe how to help or how to be part of the ministry, there's going to be options for them.
Enormous options for volunteering, whether you have 5 minutes a week or whether you have lots of extra time. Mm-hmm. There will be so many opportunities for you to find ways to answer the call that God's maybe tapping you on the shoulder about. Maybe you don't even know until you go up to an exhibitor and find out about one of these vulnerable populations. Like, wow, I've been thinking a lot about this. Or a certain saint that's a patron of a certain area has been tapping me on the shoulder. And here, right in front of me, is presented a beautiful opportunity.
And opportunities that most of us probably didn't realize existed. I had never heard of that.
Me neither.
CASA before.
So fun fact, my oldest daughter, after graduating from college, she was doing some service in Kentucky. I had never heard of CASA either. So she did 2 years of service in Appalachia, and then she moved was looking for a job. She stayed in Lexington and found a job quickly based on her experience helping vulnerable populations in Appalachia with CASA. It was CASA of the Bluegrass, so shout out to CASA of the Bluegrass. She had a wonderful experience there. So she was the employee who was responsible for recruiting and training the volunteers. And I learned so much. And right after she took that job, suddenly everybody I talked to had been a CASA in New Jersey, knew something about them. Amazing. So I was tardy to that party. I didn't know anything about that. But, here's a whole new world open up. And that's the reason I extended the invitation out to the local CASA organizations to be part of Life Expo.
Oh, wow. I love it.
That's awesome. We are going to take a really short break, and then we're going to come back and talk more about this expo and some of the other people who will be there. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Bishop Robert Barron on the priesthood.
I'm kind of a teacher by nature. I always have been. I've always loved books and ideas and life of the mind and speaking and all that. So I brought that into the priesthood. You know, a very wise thing was said a long time ago, namely that if God chose you to be a priest, he chose you to be a priest, meaning he chose you with your particular gifts and what you're going to bring. So you don't leave that behind. On the contrary, God chose me with these particular gifts. So I've always discerned that teaching and writing and preaching and proclaiming would be a key part of it. And it has been. I found great joy in that. I've always found joy in the pastoral work. You know, I did it when I was newly ordained. I was in a parish for 4 years. And whenever I would go to a hospital, I go to a nursing home, go into the school, counsel, engage couples. I mean, I always found great joy in that, even though it's challenging.
The leading Catholic voices are on EWTN Radio.
Too often Christians walk through life as if their circumstances had the final word, as if a bad doctor report, IRS audit, or mean boss were all-powerful. We need to start thinking and living as if God is all-powerful, because he is. When Paul was in prison, waiting to be beheaded, he wrote things like, I am pressed, not crushed, persecuted, not abandoned, struck down, not destroyed. In all these things we are more than conquerors because of him who loved us. He knew he had the upper hand because he had God's hand. A real champion isn't someone who wins all the time. It's someone who can't be defeated. Christians are supposed to walk through life like real champions. People who face the same struggles and trials anyone else does, but unlike anyone else does. Because we saw the final score, and we know who wins. I don't know what you're facing today, but I know who has your back, so hold your head up high. Like St. Paul, you're more than a conqueror. This is Chris Stefanik from reallifecatholic.com on EWTN Radio.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Better Together. I'm Jen Morrow.
I'm Emily Italia.
And with us today in studio, we have Rachel Hendricks. She is the Respect Life Coordinator for the Diocese of Trenton. We've been talking about the Standing Together for Life Mass and Expo that's coming up on January 23rd at St. Robert Bellarmine Co-Cathedral in Freehold. There'll be a Mass at 11 a.m. Celebrated by Bishop O'Connell, followed by the Life Expo, which is going to have tons of different organizations to talk about, have resources available on pregnancy centers, infertility support, Catholic cemeteries, support for adoption, and more. And, one thing that's really just great about this event is that it is in Freehold. I mean, we're very fortunate to live in a state where you can drive the whole state, in just a couple hours. So, and Freehold's pretty centrally located. So again, January 23rd, stop by St. Robert Bellarmine and learn all more about Respect Life, especially if you can't go down to Washington, D.C. and take part in the March for Life. This is a great way to take part locally.
And I'll just add one thing that this year, if anyone attended last year, whether you attended or not, last year we kind of offered just some snacks and some water. But this year we are having a cafe seating area, and we will be offering complimentary hot coffee and hot homemade soup to our attendees while supplies last. I think we have enough for like 500. And we will also we also invited the No Limits Cafe food truck to attend. No Limits Cafe is a unique cafe that's located in Middletown, New Jersey, that was begun by Catholic parents who had been involved in their parish up in, I think, Homedale or the Middletown area. They have an adult daughter with Down syndrome who, when aged out of the state's programming for students, they found that their daughter had very limited possibilities for meaningful employment. And oftentimes people with intellectual disabilities are offered some employment, but they're either not paid or they're paid less than other workers who are doing the same job. Mm-hmm. And so they started No Limits Cafe up in Middletown in order to provide meaningful employment for adults with intellectual disabilities. Not only do they train and employ these folks at the cafe, but they also have training programs for adults with intellectual disabilities so that they might find placement in other food industry locations. So they're going to be coming with their food truck. Their employees will be there serving the soup for us and attending to the food truck, where they will be providing so the coffee and the soup is complimentary, but the food truck will be offering for purchase specialty grilled cheese sandwiches.
Very nice.
Ooh. Snacks, everybody. Snacks. Should have started with that.
Provide
Snacks.
food and they will come, right?
Yeah.
That's right. That's a lesson I learned
read
early in
about
life.
that cafe in local press. I think one of the smaller papers along the shore had reported on them before, but it was a couple years ago. I had totally forgotten about that.
Yeah, they opened. They are
Great
actually slated to
ministry.
open literally days before the COVID shutdown.
Wow.
They survived through the COVID shutdown in various ways, as we all kind of shifted the way we did things then.
Yeah.
But I give the founders and their board a ton of credit at the networking they've done in order to stay afloat. And they are doing more than staying afloat. They have a band of wonderful volunteers that stand side by side with their employees, assisting them in the kitchen and all the different, these wonderful, beautiful brothers and sisters with intellectual disabilities really perform to their maximum capabilities in whatever way they can be employed in the restaurant, whether it's working in the kitchen preparing food, to serving the guests, to cleaning the outside and the inside, and taking care of all those things that need to be done in a food industry business.
And giving somebody the opportunity for meaningful work is really looking to the dignity of the human person, just like all of these other exhibitors that are going to be at the expo. You know, that's the whole thing, is we're recognizing each human life has dignity and worth, and we want to celebrate that and support it.
Yeah.
That's right. And they're so excited. The folks at No Limits Cafe are so excited to, because they bring their food truck and they do catering for any normal events, anniversaries, birthday parties, whatever, just like you would order any other food truck. But they're so excited to be engaged with a huge event that's along hand in hand with the mission that they're serving. And it's so united to what Life Expo is all about.
Nice. So one thing that we said that we wanted to chit chat about among those at the expo was Catholic cemeteries. Because when I saw that list, I was like, how does Catholic cemeteries come in when we're talking about Respect Life Expo?
Right. So there are a couple of angles through which we can find the appropriateness of having our Diocese of Trenton Catholic cemeteries present at our Life Expo. One, I think maybe we think of most frequently, or maybe off the top of your head, you might think like, oh, end of life issues, the ill, the aging, the elderly, those with terminal illness who are preparing for that end of life, require and deserve our attention and our support. And certainly upon their passing, especially for what we believe as Catholics, of course we know is true, is that we want to provide a dignified burial for all those who pass, and that we want for those baptized to be given that attention through the rituals that we provide in the church with funeral rituals. So there is definitely that component, and end-of-life issues, difficult, challenging medical situations with illness and trauma, bodily trauma, will be addressed. So this is kind of a little nugget I'm throwing out there, a little teaser. We're going to be looking into addressing this issue with lay people, with our clergy and our broader communities. How do we better understand how we can prepare for those times of difficult, challenging illness, but also preparing for end of life? How we can understand how we need to find ways to live well so that we can in turn also die well. And what does that really mean? So Dr. Charlie Camosi's most recent book, Living and Dying Well, A Catholic Approach to Resisting Physician-Assisted Suicide, or killing, as he rightly calls it.
Which is legal in the state. So
which is legal in the state.
It's very important to be having this talk. Yeah.
Right. So, but we'll be putting together 3 sessions in the spring that we'll be launching those dates very soon, in order to tackle some of these difficult issues around how we understand death and dying and end-of-life issues. But going back to why Catholic cemeteries is present at Life Expo, other than the reasons I've just talked about, was really, I was drawn into this after learning about an incredible new novel program where our Catholic cemeteries have partnered with Virtua Health System down in South Jersey, the Jesus Bread of Life Cemetery, or Diocesan Cemetery, is down in Mount Laurel, so in that South Jersey community. So they've partnered with Virtua Health System, which is not a Catholic health system; it's just a regular old health system, and local funeral directors in order to provide the opportunity for any woman who experiences a miscarriage loss before 20 weeks, in order to provide them with resources and an opportunity to have a dignified burial for their child who's been lost in miscarriage. Now, in the state of New Jersey, as in many other states, when a child is lost before birth, at or after 20 weeks, it's technically legally considered a stillbirth. And so therefore, that baby automatically gets a death certificate. Their lives are recognized through their passing and their death certificate. And then there's a kind of normal course for families to be able to have their child's remains taken by a funeral home and then given burial. When you lose a baby in New Jersey before 20 weeks, it's considered medically or legally a miscarriage. And before 20 weeks, sadly, there's no process right in place to issue these death certificates that would pave the way for women and couples to have their child's bodily remains through the process for burial. There's not even, we need laws to protect parents in this case of miscarriage when that occurs, especially when that occurs in a hospital setting. So upon miscarriage, a woman might lose the remains of the baby and expel the remains of the baby at home and can retain those remains also. But oftentimes they will go to a hospital to have a D&C procedure that will be able to remove the remains to protect from the woman from any infection or other complications. But if a woman loses a child before 20 weeks, there's no obligation for the hospital staff to even offer to the woman that she might want to retain or have a funeral home take possession of those remains for proper burial for even if they're not Catholic and they believe that cremation and kind of keeping remains at home, which we don't believe as Catholics is, but basically there's no real rights to the patient's, to the woman's right to make that decision. So this beautiful program that was started by our diocesan Catholic cemeteries down at the Bread of Life Cemetery is every single woman who enters a hospital for the purpose of miscarriage treatment before 20 weeks is offered the opportunity to have their child's remains brought to this funeral home that's working with them and to have dignified burial at the beautiful Bread of Life, Jesus Bread of Life Mausoleum. And I'll tell you what, they thought that, there will probably be a lot of Catholic moms and couples that would want to take advantage of this. They have been just dumbfounded by the response of people of all faiths. They realize, this is my baby. Of course I want my baby buried. And they've had, so they started off having the funeral home is able to cremate the remains of the children, and then they're entombed in donated space in the mausoleum. They figured, well, maybe once or twice a year we'll have a group service. So any babies who are being entombed once a year, once every 6 months, we'll have a service for them, invite them to come. Well, they've had to have these every 2 or 3 months. Wow. Not only because the reality of miscarriage is very frequent happening, right? But not only that, but the desire among these parents to give dignified burial to their child, regardless if they have any faith at all or if they have a different faith from the Catholic faith. And so they have people with no faith, Muslim couples coming, extended family. They're seeing this as a situation like we would if we had any other person in our lives pass away, right? And granted, not everybody wants a big public and might not feel comfortable inviting extended family, but
the option is there.
The option is there, and people are seeing this should be a normal part of what we do as family, right? We provide this for our lost little ones, and we extend that out to our families to participate in this ritual of dignified burial.
And that tangible opportunity for closure.
To grieve.
And that's so important from the people I've talked to who have lost a loved one, be it a baby or an aging parent. Having that closure, that opportunity to go through the rite and to say goodbye, in a very not regimented, but just a prescribed way that says, okay, this is with finality. It's really important to those who are going through that process as part of the healing.
Mm-hmm. And then they have a place to go.
Right.
Where they know that the physical remains of their child are there. And for those of us who believe in the resurrection, right, it helps us to reflect on and contemplate that day when we'll all be risen up, right? Mm-hmm. And we'll be one again with our Lord in heaven and our loved ones. So
it's beautiful.
It's a remarkable program. It's one of a kind. It's something that our bishop is very, very much behind, and I think we probably need to see a lot more of.
For sure.
Yep.
That's amazing. So ideas for other cemetery ministries out there if you want to jump on board.
Yeah.
And funeral directors too, especially if you're a Catholic funeral director. I'd love to hear from you if you want to engage in more conversations about this process. I just walked with a couple of different couples who had experienced miscarriage loss, and out of their proper catechesis or maybe the turning of their heart, realized that this is my baby and I want to give dignified burial. But I'll tell you what, in the state of New Jersey, you need accompaniment to figure out how to negotiate and jump through the hoops. It is possible. So if anyone's in that situation, please reach out to me at the diocese if you're in that situation and or know someone that is and want some help trying to navigate that process. Sure. But we need our funeral directors on board.
Yeah. And also, it sounds like, I just don't want to get all into it, but people at the hospitals, like, I'm wondering, hearing you say that, like, if you were to have a miscarriage at a hospital and not even know that was an option, but then find out later, like, that would even hurt even more.
Right. And I want to say, so many people listening to this may have had experience with miscarriage loss, or know someone that has. And so there's no reason to feel any guilt or any resentment about your situation. You were going through something that was unexpected, and that maybe you hadn't ever experienced anything like that before. The mechanisms are not set up in our hospitals to offer this. And when you're going through that situation, your mind is in a whirlwind. You've just lost a child. Perhaps you have other children to care for, other responsibilities. You've reoriented your life around your state of pregnancy and your child, your unborn child, and now all that's fallen apart. So anybody that's listening, I don't want anyone to experience, and if you do, please seek out help if you're experiencing guilt or resentment about an experience in a hospital regarding miscarriage, or even at home. If you've lost a little one at home and didn't know what to do, it's okay. You didn't know.
Yeah.
And so these are challenging, emergent situations, and so we do the best we can. But those that are not in that situation, maybe we can help put together structures, whether it's through advocacy, through the legal system, and passing laws that maybe every woman who has a miscarriage experience in a hospital maybe should be offered this and given a social worker that can help connect them with a knowledgeable funeral director. Of course, if you decide you don't want to do that, okay, that's your choice. And but also invite your priest or your clergy member, if you have a connection with a spiritual leader, to help guide you through what will be best for that child, but also for your healing.
Yeah.
And then building on that healing opportunity, I know that there's going to be a presentation that's running throughout the day in the chapel, I think, in the sanctuary, or the Sisters of Hope. They have like a healing ministry.
Right, so the Sisters of Life actually
have
Life. A 12-part series called Into Life. Now, anybody that's had any experience with the Sisters of Life probably has a broad smile on their face right now, because they are some of the most joy-filled, effervescent ladies that serve the church. And one of their primary focuses is on helping vulnerable pregnant women and babies, but also care for women after they've suffered the loss and grief of an abortion or a miscarriage loss. So the Sisters of Life, together with the McGrath Institute for Church Life out at the University of Notre Dame, put together this beautiful 12-part video series. And we'll have that rolling in the chapel. Okay. So not the main sanctuary, but right there near Dentici Hall. in the chapel, we'll just have a loop of that whole, each video is like maybe 10 or 12 minutes, and it's a 12-part series. We'll have some information about how you can get access to these series. It's free. How you can get study guides, how you can just find more information. It's a great opportunity for personal study and reflection. But also if you have a women's group, a men's group, a Bible study, it would be a great like launching point for all the beautiful work that the sisters are doing. So that'll be kind of come in and come out, sit for a little bit and watch more, go away, find out maybe this can plug into where you're at in your ministry work or during personal life. Yep.
Oh, I love that.
So we have about 2.5 minutes left.
Well, that went fast.
Talking.
It did,
I
didn't it?
know, right? I'm like, can we come back for part 2?
Sure. I'm free that day.
I'm
free that day.
You're free that day. What do you want to make sure that we get across before what haven't we talked about that you want to make sure we talk about before we sign off here?
Well, that's a pretty bit in 2 minutes.
And 2
Jen.
minutes and go.
Thanks
also,
a lot.
what does the meaning of life go?
Yeah. Okay. So the meaning of life. Yeah. So but regarding the event, we just want to invite everyone is welcome. It's a free event, and we want to fill that Co-Cathedral just with wonderful people of goodwill. Whether you're Catholic or a Christian or not affiliated to a faith, you have a place in our church.
And there's no
you are
registration,
welcome.
right?
There's no registration required. Just come. The Co-Cathedral holds like 1,000 people. You might want to get first in line for the free coffee and soup, but there'll always be stuff for purchase at the food truck. But come, meet new people. Network with our exhibitors, find new opportunities, just learn more about the resources, like especially for those people in ministry that serve like St. Vincent de Paul, food pantries, those ministries to the poor. Find out more about more of the resources, because their job is not to only offer financial help, but connect those people in need to all the other resources. You're going to find a lot of those resources right here if you work outside of the quote-unquote pro-life ministry or Respect Life Ministry, but you're in ministry work helping neighbors in need. So, Friday, January 23rd at the Co-Cathedral. Mass will start at 11 a.m. and the Life Expo will begin immediately after that. So we welcome everybody. It's going to be a really amazing day.
It sounds like it. And so many opportunities to learn how to volunteer or take part in ways that you didn't even know.
Right, because sometimes we feel like, gosh, I need to know how to put this into action. I want to pray and I want to learn more, but now I want to do something where I feel like I'm having an impact.
Yeah.
So
right. It's going to be just a wonderful day. And I'm thinking of, so if anybody knows kind of a very noted Catholic philosopher, Alistair MacIntyre, if you don't know, look him up because he's fascinating. He just passed away not too long ago in late 2025, but he's quoted as saying, like, we're called to live in networks of uncalculated giving and grateful receiving.
Oh, say that again.
We're called to live in networks. I hope I'm getting it right. Networks of uncalculated giving and grateful receiving. And doesn't that image our relationship with our Lord and with our Lord to his Son, right? Uncalculated giving and then the grateful receiving and then giving back. We need to recognize our dependency, our interdependency, and when we have time and ability to give, which we all do, even if we're very incapacitated through prayer, right? We need to give, and we need to be grateful to receive when we need the help as well.
For sure.
Well, I think that's about as perfect as you can get as a sign-off. So, Rachel, thank you so much for being on the show with us again today.
Oh, it's
always
my
a
pleasure.
pleasure. I feel like we all got so much information out of today.
Galvanizing.
Exactly. Is there a website people can go to for more info?
I wrote it down.
Okay.
So dioceseoftrenton.org/standing-together-for-life for the specific event.
Okay.
And then is there a general landing page for Respect Life Ministry that you would like to share?
Sure. It's dioceseoftrenton.org/respect-life-ministry.
We're in good shape.
Good shape. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And Emily and I will see you next month.
That's right. Looking forward to it, as always.
Take care.